I lived in a van and traveled the country working seasonal jobs. And when I would get somewhere new, I used to use Tinder to meet new friends. I was in the Auburn, Washington area and had a few drinks at a random bar, hoping to meet some locals. When I left the bar, it was dark. I was walking to my van when I heard somebody say my first and then my full name. Red flag alert. I lived 6 states over. Nobody but the guy who checked my ID at the bar would know my last name. I turned around and saw this random guy sitting on some bricks smoking a cigarette. I say, "Yeah, that's me," without thinking. He said, "Hi, my name is Chris. We matched on Tinder." I stood with him and we began to talk. He said he lived right there, pointing to the door behind the bar that leads to the studios on the second story. We went back in, hung out, and had a drink or two before he invited me up for dinner, which was cooked in the community kitchen. I wasn't planning on going into his place, but I was talking about Magic the Gathering, and he said he had some cards and was wondering if I wanted to check them out. I agreed. His studio was literally the size of a closet. It had a bed in it and a fridge. There was a little nook in the corner that had a shower and a toilet. It was less than 100 square feet, I swear. I looked through his cards and told him there was nothing I was interested in. He said it figures, because they were given to him and he doesn't play the game. The next day, I go to the local game store to play Magic the Gathering, and guess who walks in? He offers to go get drinks, and I decline. I tell him I will add him on Facebook and message him if I change my mind. He gives me his name and looks over my shoulder while I type it into the app. His face pops up, and I tap on his profile. Then I see it. 500 mutual friends. I don't live anywhere near here. I have been here 3 days. Then I think, oh, I am friends with a lot of drag performers on Facebook. Maybe he is too. I add him and leave. Once in my van, I get on Tinder for the first time since getting there. I swipe and I swipe and I swipe. I pay the $4.99 to get more swipes. I swipe and I swipe and I swipe. I don't see him. Where is he? This Chris guy. 2 hours later, I find him. I open his profile. 500 mutual friends. I swipe right. Nothing happens. It doesn't say you've got a match. Not only have we never matched, but he didn't even swipe on me. Was he trying to hide the profile? I felt like I kept seeing him everywhere that week. I didn't want it to cause me to change travel plans and leave early, but it started to freak me out. He would show up at the bar that I was at or the game store when I was there, even though he told me he didn't play Magic. I started to get really uneasy, so I checked his Facebook profile again. All of the mutual friends were my close friends, my childhood friends, my family, my teachers, my coworkers. I couldn't handle it anymore and changed my entire winter plans just to get out of the situation. So, Chris, that's not me. And on an unrelated note, 3 weeks later, I read in the news that his apartment and the bar we met at had burned down. Nearly 2 weeks ago, me and some friends attended a cosplay event and went as characters from Full Metal Alchemist and Fire Emblem. I was Edward Elric, one of my friends was Winry, my ex spouse was Colonel Mustang, and so forth. There was 6 of us, and we arrived the earliest because we were excited to meet the other cosplayers. We ran into a woman who wasn't a cosplayer but a weeaboo, and your stereotypical Fujoshi. We discovered this upon meeting when she squealed, ran up to me and my ex spouse, then asked for Mustang on Edward action. I don't need to explain why that's disgusting. That was the first red flag. My fraternal twin, who cosplays as Kimberly, shot me a glare that said, "We need to go," and everyone silently agreed. Me sympathizing with her decided against it. So in Japanese, a mutual language me and my friends speak alongside Dutch, Gaelic, and etc., begged to stick it out. A bad idea in hindsight. She screamed and brought unwanted attention. This was the last straw for them. Immediately, my brother, ex spouse, and other 2 friends disguised their urgent want to disassociate as wanting to walk away, leaving me and Winry as her company. Minor time skip. The 3 of us are wandering around. Despite being an introvert, I try to be as interactive and inclusive to our company as possible because nobody likes to be the third wheel. As me and my friend converse with her, we quickly learn of her unappealing aspects. She ships indirect incest, apparently has nosebleeds for a CL and Sebastian fanfiction, and believes bestiality isn't all that bad. Another red flag I shamefully attempted ignoring under the impression she was young, 17 to 19, but nope, turns out she's 21. Major time skip. It's been over 4 hours and she tailgated me and Winry the entire event. In an attempt to relax myself, I asked if they're down for drinks. We grab a couple, and then Winry sets off to find my brother and our other friends so we can go, leaving me with this weird feeling in my stomach. As a Scotsman and avid drinker, I definitely had more than a few drinks, so I was kind of tipsy. I got a call from my brother saying for everyone to meet in the parking lot, so I bid her goodbye and left, unbeknownst to her, following me. I was the first to reach the car. The doors were unlocked, thankfully, because it was cold. I hop in the back and take off my coat. The liquor starts hitting differently, so I became too disoriented to notice the silhouette behind the tinted glass, peering over me as I tried to collect myself. It was hearing the door open that triggered my anxiety, but assuming it was my brother or friend, it didn't bother. It was cold outside, but I was hot and exhausted from walking around in cosplay all day, so I closed my eyes and took deep breaths. It was feeling someone crawl into my lap and straddle me that provoked an alarmed response, and much to my dismay, it was the woman from the event. Buzzed and discombobulated, I struggled to comprehend what was unfolding. For the life of me, I couldn't fathom the reason behind her actions. I should probably include a trigger warning for assault here. She starts touching me, hands under my shirt, hands on my inner thighs, etc. At this point, I'm stiff as a board because I'm having flashbacks from prior assault. My heart is racing. My eyes are wide, my mouth's agape. I'm trying to scream and say stop, but the words wouldn't come out. It was the sound of my friend's laughter echoing the lot that got her attention, where she immediately hopped off and scooted to the right seat. My wig disheveled and cosplay untidy, my brother glared at me and asked what the hell was she doing in our car. When I could finally speak, I lied and told him she was just waiting for her ride. After she left, I know my ex spouse could tell I was off, but kept hushed. Because of this, I've not interacted with anyone. I'm scared to tell my girlfriend, to tell anyone. This has been wrecking me mentally and emotionally the last 2 weeks. It's taking everything in me not to cry right now, but to the Weebu Fujoshi we've met at that event, let's not meet again, ever. This happened a few years ago when I was still living with my mom, and I had borrowed her car to go see my then boyfriend for the evening. It was around midnight when I got back to my neighborhood, so the roads were empty. And that's when I noticed this dirty, rundown, rusted white utility van that a maintenance guy would drive following me. I never ever saw the driver's face, but I got this immediate sinking feeling in my stomach because something felt wrong about this van. Now, I was only 20 at the time, but I knew better than to just drive straight to my house and letting this person know exactly where I live, no matter how desperately I wanted to just go home and ignore it. But I also wasn't 100% sure they were actually following me yet. I didn't want to jump to conclusions just because it was late, I was alone, and being paranoid. So I drove to a shopping complex a few minutes out of the way that's well lit and has a public library to see if I was followed there. I thought I lost the van, but decided to wait in the parking lot for a few minutes because I had a bad feeling I just couldn't shake. Sure enough, the van showed up and was driving in random circles around the parking lot looking for me. It scared me quite a bit. So I drove towards the big mall here that's always got a police or security presence around it because it was the midway point between where I was and where I lived. I parked in a pretty well lit, although empty, 24-hour McDonald's parking lot where I had a great view of the roads and the mall, but I wasn't super easy to spot. I waited to see if the van showed up looking for me. It did. And of course, this would be the one time security and the cops are nowhere to be found, which was half the reason I decided to head here in the first place. Realizing whoever was driving this van was 100% actively following me in the middle of the night, I knew just driving home wasn't an option, and that's a terrifying realization. Luckily, the police station is just a few minutes away from where I was, so I try and discreetly drive away, hoping the van hasn't noticed me yet. I wasn't that lucky because it wasn't long before the van was back in my rearview mirror. At this point, I'm panicking pretty hard and my anxiety is high. I finally pulled into the police station parking lot, and seconds later, the van came to a stop in the middle of the road for no more than a few seconds. I'm guessing just long enough for them to realize where I led them to. So they took off immediately and fast. Not long after, I did make it home safe and without seeing the van again, but this whole ordeal took up at least an hour of my night. It was after 1 a.m. by the time I made it home, and I was terrified the entire time. I don't know what this guy's specific intention was, but honestly, I don't need to know. I know it was nothing good, and I likely avoided a very bad situation. If you think someone is following you, it's not stupid or paranoid to make sure you aren't right. Who knows what might have really happened if I had led them to my house or have gotten out of the car.